Hey, Georgia Department of Driver Services. It's Stephanie Stallworth, the ATL traffic lady. I report the morning traffic on the People Station B103, News and Talk 1380 WAOK, and Sports Radio 92.9 The Game here in Atlanta. I'm also the founder and CEO of a new streaming service called theflowtelevision.com and also the Flow Solutions, an online course platform. I just wanted to stop by, just take a few moments to thank each of you for a really great year at the Georgia Department of Driver Services. We're all thrown in a few curveballs with the pandemic. Every business pretty much had to pivot quickly and learn how to create some new strategies for conducting business safely and conducting business efficiently, especially people who had to work from home. That, as you well know, took a lot of teamwork. Even as broadcasters, we at the radio stations had to go ahead and work together, put together some new processes and put some new systems in place for us to be able to broadcast from home. I've been broadcasting from home since the beginning of the pandemic. So March 2020. That was something the media industry didn't really expect. For a few syndicated shows maybe did that, but that's about it. But we got it done, just as everyone there at the Georgia Department of Driver Services. And I applaud you for that. I experienced it firsthand, all the great work that you all do. I do remember coming to the Conyers location about 3 times, I think, during the pandemic. The first time was when you had to line up outside. That was early on in the quarantine times. And then another time when one of my sons, along, with everyone else in the state of Georgia, with a learner's permit, came in to upgrade to a license. In his case, it was temporarily. And we also utilized that online portal and GADDS mobile app to gather information, look for appointments. And then not too long ago, my youngest son, he came in to renew his ID card. It was really, a wonderful experience for us each time. Both online, in person, either way, everything was really great for us. Someone always greeted us as we arrived in person. Everyone was extremely helpful and walking the boys through their necessary steps to get things done. Now, I can remember all the names. Well, not really, but I try to. But I do want to say thank you so much. And I'm sending out a shout to all the Conyers staff. If you're watching, I'm so sure that, each location across the state provides a similar experience. So I felt like I was at Chick-fil-A. My pleasure. Y'all were really great though. Seriously, I can't thank you enough. I know it really took a good deal of planning, a great deal of teamwork to craft that whole experience for your customers and your client base. Being a successful team takes a lot of effort, may even take a lot out of you as managers on some days. You have many different team members to keep motivated for the purpose, and sometimes they're there for it. Sometimes they're not, of course, it happens. So I want to share with you just really quickly one method I found that can help change their way of thinking and even our way of thinking in the work setting, and also maybe in our everyday lives, something to think about and see how you can maybe use the information. David Emerald wrote a book called The Power of TED. You may have heard of it. It's adapted from Stephen Cartman's drama Triangle, created back in the 1960s. The book focuses on 2 different orientations from which we can choose to live. It's visualized as 2 triangles. One is called DDT, Dreaded Drama Triangle. The other is called TED, the Empowerment Dynamic. So 2 triangles there. I want you to think of these 2 triangles as ways that teams may interact. So let's make some comparisons on these triangles. We'll start with the triangle on the left side. That's DDT, the dreaded drama triangle. Sometimes there's some drama in the groups, right? It has 3 points. The victim, the persecutor, and the rescuer are there as the base. The triangle on the right side, TED, T-E-D, that is the Empowerment Dynamic Triangle. Now, it also has 3 points like a triangle does, with the creator at the top, the challenger, and the coach as the base. So the idea here is to make that shift from the mindsets in the triangle on the left, the DDT, to the mindsets that make up the triangle on the right, the TED. So if we want to shift from victim to creator, if we want to shift from rescuer to coach, if we want to shift from persecutor to challenger, here's a few tips to do so. So as I describe each mindset, I just want you to see if you see yourself or someone else in any of these descriptions. Frankly, probably most of us have been one or all of these at some point, right? So let's start at the top with victims and creators. Victims will focus on what they don't want. They'll avoid responsibility. They'll think things are beyond their control. And as a result, have trouble making decisions, have trouble solving problems, and have some trouble going for their goals too. Whereas if you think about creators, they're going to place their focus on what they do want, on the vision, on the goal, or on that desired outcome. So to shift from victim to creator, you have to shift your focus. So you focus on what you do want to happen instead of what you don't want. Next, let's take a look at rescuers and coaches. Rescuers and coaches. Rescuers fear loss of purpose. Rescuers need victims to help, victims to protect, or victims to fix in order to boost their own self-esteem. You see, rescuers will see the person as the victim, or they'll see them as someone not able to complete the task without their help as their rescuer. Now, coaches, on the other hand, what do you think they see? They see that same individual as a creator, capable of doing what it takes to go ahead and achieve the desired outcome. So when we want to shift from the mindset of a rescuer to the mindset of a coach, we need to see the individual as actually having the ability within them to handle that assignment successfully. If we see them that way, it will work out a little better. Now, finally, let's take a look at persecutors versus challengers. Persecutors versus challengers. Persecutors, they're going to display very rigid views and they'll exert their power over others to keep others from having any power over them. In fact, the truth is many persecutors are actually former victims themselves. So they don't want to be that anymore. So they'll do what they're doing here. They'll definitely provoke a reaction, but it's not always a good one. If we look at challengers, by contrast, challengers will get a response by encouraging the creator to gain new insight, learn a new skill, or add to their knowledge base. So to keep this in mind, you got to remember both persecutors and challengers, they both cause some kind of a change, but in distinctly different ways. So the shift from persecutor to challenger is really a very important one to learn how to go ahead and make. So those are some tips for you out there. Let me tell you a story. When I first learned how to drive at age 16, my parents sent me to AAA driving school. In my first lesson, it was night driving in a stick shift car. Now, I'd never driven a manual transmission. The instructor said, "Oh, don't worry. It's easy. Just start driving. I'll tell you what to do." He was the expert saying this. So I figured, okay, how hard can it be? Well, it was hard. I couldn't shift. I didn't know how. The instructor didn't know how to tell me how to shift because he didn't know what I was doing wrong. He knew how to shift, but he was unable to teach me how to do it for myself. So eventually he just took over. He became a rescuer and he drove us back to the AAA driving school garage. Now, we both got out of that car kind of defeated. It was not the outcome either of us wanted that night. I didn't learn how to shift that night. And I didn't ever really, at that point, want to learn how to shift, ever. Now, ironically, fast forward, the first car I bought was a stick shift. It was like a bronzy brown 1981 Dodge Datsun B210 hatchback. Not a Dodge, it was a Datsun B210 hatchback. Had those black louvers on the back. Really sporty. I love that car. But because I didn't know how to shift, my brother had to test drive it for me. My brother had to drive it home for me from the dealer. It took me a really long time to learn how to shift and drive that car properly. It stalled out. It jerked around a lot. Eventually, I got the hang of it and became second nature. And now I can shift with the best of them, right? So same principle here is what we're talking about with shifting your teams from the dreaded drama triangle, the DDT on the left side, over to the empowerment dynamic triangle, TED on the right side. Now, it might take some time. They may jerk around and stall out for a bit, gotta resist for a while before they get the hang of it, especially if it's something new to them. It may not happen overnight, but with steady application, taking some baby steps at first, kind of guiding them there. It will happen. It will happen. So go back to your teams and lead that shift from victim to creator. Lead that shift from rescuer to coach and from persecutor to challenger. And I hope you'll do really great with that, even in your personal lives too. Again, the book is called The Power of TED by David Emerald. Go ahead and check it out when you have a chance. I found it to be helpful in my career. And again, like I said, in my daily life, you may find people in your life that are some of those different roles, so you can help shift them as well. So I hope you'll gain some tools to help yourself or others just kind of shift from the dreaded drama triangle to the empowerment dynamic, TED. All right. So I'm not going to take any more of your time. Stephanie Stallworth, your ATL traffic lady. Thank you so much for having me today. I appreciate your time, and congrats again on a successful year to the Georgia Department of Driver Services. Outstanding job in the middle of a pandemic. Keep up the great work, you all, and I'll see you soon when my sons come in for their road test. Automatic transmissions only, please. Wish us luck. I'll see you guys then. Bye for now.